Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Sovereign Helper podcast. This is episode 157, using desire, not willpower, to fuel your mission. And actually, it's not about ignoring willpower. Willpower has a place, but about really focusing, cultivating desire in your body and using that as fuel. So, welcome back. My name is Lisa Espinosa. I'm a spiritual career coach, and I help sensitive, heart led helpers, whether you're a therapist, a wellness professional, or not even in the so called healing professions, but whatever work you do in the world, or however you are in the world, because I also have clients that are retired or semi retired. You are a helper, even if you don't use that word to describe yourself. You're someone that's here to be an example of what's possible. You're here to share your healing modality. You're here to share your artwork, your books, to bring about new ways of doing the work that you do. There's countless of things. And so this month has been all about how self-love increases our impact. That it's not a selfish thing, it's not a woo-woo thing, it's not an indulgent thing, it's not a naive thing, and it's not something that you do when you have time. That self-love is actually a very grounded, powerful practice. And so the episodes this month have tied into that. And this episode about desire absolutely is a form of self-love. I'm just remembering how many times I've connected with when I do my consults, which, by the way, I was going to invite you to that. So if you want to talk with me privately, I have some sessions open for February still. There's some left. If you want to schedule a free 1 hour sovereignty consult, and this is an opportunity for me to help you get clear on what are the obstacles that are in the way? What are the things that can prevent you or hinder you from really sharing your gifts in a way that feels sustainable, that feels joyful, and that's creating a lot of impact. So what I was going to say is, a lot of times when I meet with potential clients in those consults, often when I ask, what do you desire? People will kind of go blank. Like it can feel like a very challenging question. And I want to talk about that today. That's part of what we're going to discuss today, because I think there are very intentional, specific reasons why that is. And I actually think in this year, now that we started, right, the year of the fire horse, this new chapter of your service and leadership, the more you can lean into desire and cultivate the feeling of desire in your body, the frequency of desiring to take the action steps to expand your capacity, that's going to make such a big difference. So I'm just looking at my notes here. So let's talk about willpower first. And so as a helper, you have most likely had to overcome a lot in your life, right? And there's no comparison. So it's not like, well, who overcame more than others? So it's like whatever you had to overcome, whatever challenges were in your life, whatever they were part of the reason why you became a helper, right? Why you became a therapist, why you became a coach, why you started your own business, why you wrote your book, whatever it is that you do, right? It's often because of the challenges that you experienced. And a lot of times you overcame those challenges or you met your goals through the use of willpower. And willpower absolutely works. I mean, for a long time, I used willpower, and I still do. I'm still learning and expanding my capacity to use desire. But willpower absolutely works. And willpower is a very masculine energy. And we all have, regardless of what gender you identify with, we all have feminine and masculine energies. So the use of willpower is a really masculine way to achieve our goals or achieve our results. And it has a place. Willpower has absolutely a place in our path. But when we rely solely on willpower, what can happen? It's not sustainable. Willpower is meant to support your desires, There's a place for willpower, but it's not infinite. It's not a sustainable resource, which is why so many of us who relied on willpower, right, which can feel very much like efforting, pushing, forcing, urgency. What you might find a lot of times, I start working with clients where that has worked for them really well for a long time. And they start to have this sense that, like, I don't think I can continue to do it through willpower alone. Or maybe they burned out and are like, I definitely can't do it that way anymore. I know I'm still meant to share my gifts. I know I'm still meant to create, to lead, to inspire, but I'm so scared that I'm going to go back to overdoing it. And so that's an imbalance of willpower. And so what is important to understand, desire, when we talk about desire, that comes from our soul. I invite you to think about desire as a frequency of your soul. And your soul is your true essence, your higher self. Right? When I talk about helping my clients come back into soul alignment, it's coming out of the egoic structure, egoic consciousness, and coming back into those aligned thoughts of your soul. And so when you tune into true desire, it's aligning you with your soul. And that is an infinite resource. So, but I want to be very clear because this can get confusing because there's other desires. Desires can also come from our egoic consciousness. And these are like, you can think of them as immature desires, right? Like it could be like desiring sugar, right? Or even like the high that we can get from crossing things off of our list, from being productive, right? There's these like short-term desires that can give you fleeting pleasure and fleeting satisfaction, but it's not lasting, right? And that's often the type of desire that shows up when we're using willpower. So if you've ever had the experience where you're trying to meet a goal and you're trying to meet a goal and you're trying to meet a goal and you're using willpower and you do it and you do it and you finally achieve it and you're like happy for like 5 minutes. Maybe not 5 minutes, maybe it's a little longer, but it doesn't last in your body, right? Like you hit the goal and it's just kind of like, oh, okay. Like because it was fueled through willpower. And that exercise of aligning with your soul's desire for it was missing. And this isn't a judgment. Like most of us were not blessed enough to be taught this, right? And so this is really important. When I talk about desire, we're talking about mature soul-led desire. And the other thing is that another reason why desire can feel challenging goes back to that martyr helper identity, right? That I've talked a lot about before. If this is the first time you're hearing it, that's okay. And it's this set of beliefs that as helpers we were taught, we absorbed from family, from the environment, from the collective of what it means to be a good helper. And one of those absolutely equates desire with selfishness, with shallowness, right? It's like, oh no, if you're a good helper, you use willpower, you push through, you go up the mountain, right? You suffer. Like there's so much, even if you are like, well, I never was taught that, there is that in the collective. We rarely hear of desire used as this actually noble quality, sacred quality that was put in our heart by God, by spirit, by our soul, whatever word you want to use, by the universe, by the great mystery. So we want to clean those things up, because if we have any confusion about that, like, ooh, isn't it selfish to have desires? Doesn't that lead to bad things? Absolutely not. I mean, like I said, we can have those immature desires, and yes, that could lead to indulging and an imbalanced life, but we're talking about the desires that were placed in your heart by the divine. And those desires are sacred. And they were placed there as your compass, as your North Star, right? And so think about your true desires, right? So, for example, you might have a desire to help hundreds of people. Maybe you have already helped hundreds of people. You want to help thousands more. Maybe you desire financial freedom so that you can have more ease. You can be generous with that financial freedom and help people who don't have those financial means, right? Maybe you have this dream of a book that you want to write, or a book you already wrote and you want it to reach thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of people, right? Maybe you desire to have just really this deep self-trust and confidence so that you can share your gifts in the most authentic, powerful way, right? So really think about how beautiful those desires are. Like, I remember having such a deep desire to graduate college, right? Even though my parents didn't graduate college, that was so instilled in me that growing up, in grammar school, high school, I just knew I'm going to go to college. And then I got pregnant at 19, and my life was completely not what I thought it was going to be. And so, but I had such a deep desire, and I know that was placed in my heart by the divine, because that was going to open lots of doors for me that needed to be open, to graduate, to, no matter what, finish college. And I can look back, and it took me 8 years to do that because of a lot of personal reasons. And I definitely used willpower for sure, but it was my desire, my deep desire, that kept me going, right? Then I had a deep desire when I became a teacher to be a great teacher and to really help my students and to inspire them. I taught seventh grade. For those of you who are not in the US, that's like, teenagers, like, I don't know, 13-year-olds around that age. And I really desired to help them and to not only with pass the standardized test, but to like really help them see themselves, accept themselves, feel safe to express themselves, all of those things. And then when my soul guided me to leave that career, that's like, we're talking 16 years ago now, I had a deep desire to follow my heart and start my own business, right? My own practice. I didn't know the details of it. I just knew I had this desire to help others deeply. And so that desire has always been there as the fuel but I didn't know how to keep it going through the action steps that it required. So in this moment, I invite you to think about what your desires are for this year specifically. And I know if you're watching live or watching the replay, in this time, it's like we're in 2026, but I know you might be watching it in a different year. But this year, these next 12 months, whenever you're watching this, what are your desires? And don't let your brain be like, well, I don't know, I have no idea. It's just like, you do know, but we can be conditioned to not know. So just ask yourself the question, if I did know, if I had to take a guess, what are my desires? And I know some of you know them. Some of you are like, yep, this is what I desire. And just be with that in your heart and notice how that feels in your body. Like for me, I feel this like warmth in my heart. My heart feels expansive, right? It feels like, and I'm able to tap into that more because I've been practicing this for a while now. So for you, depending on how long you've been practicing this, you might notice it and then it's kind of like fizzles out. But just allow yourself to be with that feeling of desire. And now think about, because this is a thing, whatever desires were placed in your heart by your soul are gonna require, how do I say this? Achieving that desire is gonna require you stepping outside of your comfort zone. It's gonna require work. So like when I wanted to graduate college, I was pregnant, I had a baby, and then I got pregnant again. I'm the mother of 5 children. So so there was a lot, right? So I first had to go to junior college, then I transferred to university, and then it meant that I went to classes pregnant and that nobody else, at least visibly, was pregnant, right? And it required a lot. It required my kids to be, for me to be away from them longer than I would have if I wasn't doing that, right? It required so much stepping outside of my comfort zone. So whatever your desires in your heart, it's important to know that, like, oh, yes, my soul placed those desires in my heart, and it's going to require me to step outside of my comfort zone, because the ego, our ego consciousness, is designed to keep us the same, keep us comfortable. So our ego structure is designed to keep us the same. Our soul is like, evolve, expand, stretch, express your full capacity, share your gifts with the greatest authenticity and impact. This is what's going to truly bring you joy. That's what our soul is constantly telling us. But the ego is like, be careful, stay small, hide. Don't go for it. Like, because what is it that happens? So let's say you feel your desire and you start taking action on it. So let's say your desire is to open a healing center. I'm just pretending, but let's say that's your desire. And you start to take the action steps. Or let's say your desire is to, attract 5 new clients, and you start to take the action steps that your soul is guiding you to take. Maybe it's like, teach some classes, do some lives on Instagram, whatever. And you start to take those action steps, right? You're fueled by desire. You're like, okay, I'm going to do this. And then your willpower helps you to do it. And you do it, and nobody shows up, or only 2 people show up, or it's just taking longer than you thought. And so this is what the ego starts to tell you. So these are some of the sentences. Why is this taking so long? What am I doing? What am I doing wrong? Look at them. It's way easier for them. Why bother with this? This isn't fair. This is embarrassing. Like, people are seeing me try this and like nobody's showing up. I'm embarrassed. Right? So like the ego starts to like kind of like throw mud on our desire, because the ego again wants us to stay the same, wants us to not ever feel vulnerability, right? And so that's what happens. And so part of the heroic human journey is for us to notice that and to know that's really normal. Everybody's brain's going to do some version of that. So it doesn't make you a bad person. It doesn't make you weak. It's just like, oh, I have a human brain. That's what the brain does. And in that moment, we have 3 choices. Okay, you connected with your desire. You started taking the steps. Now your egoic mind, your brain's offering, this is taking too long. I'm doing it wrong. Nobody cares. I suck. Look at them. They're further ahead. Why bother? All of those things. And you have 3 choices. One is you just go back to what you stop. You're just like, okay, I'm giving up. That's it. That's choice number 1. And we've all done that at some point in our life. So again, this is not judgment. It's for you to get clear, because when we're clear, we can make more aligned choices. Choice number 2 is we lean on willpower. Okay, I'm going to push through this. And yes, my brain is saying that, but I'm going to just keep doing it anyway. And that's very admirable. And like I said, I've done that many times. I still do that at times, for sure. But again, that's not sustainable, but that's an option. And the third option is to come back to desire. And what does that look like? Desire, again, if you remember, we're talking about desire that comes from your soul. So in that moment, first of all, you remember like, okay, the reason I'm doing this is because my soul put these desires in my heart. And you use self-talk, but this is like soulful self-talk, not the self-talk of the ego, right? So I'm going to give you some examples, but of course, this self-talk has to resonate with you. So again, you're in the middle of taking action, and this is where you're in the middle of taking action, but it's hard. Either you're not getting the results you want, or it's requiring more effort than you thought, or it's just taking longer, whatever it is. Or maybe people are judging you, like that could happen too. And so at that point, you make the conscious decision to use sentences like this. I want to do this. Just like, I want to do this. I choose to do this. Because the ego is always trying to make us a victim. Oh, it's not fair. Look at all this work you put in. Nobody cares, right? It's like, so I choose this. I'm committed no matter how long it takes. And I know that you might hear that and you might be like, I don't know if I'm that committed. And if you're not, then you need to decide, is this really a desire from my soul? Maybe it's not, and I just let it go. And if it is, then it's like, this is where we, we put our big girl pants on, we become adults, and we're like, this is coming from my soul, and I'm committed to this no matter how long it takes. Like, that was me going to college, taking 8 years. Like, I was like, no matter how long it takes, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. You also can give yourself sentences that acknowledge, like, look how far I've come. Because again, the ego has this lack mindset. So it will only focus on what still needs to be done, what you haven't done. So for you in those moments to be like, look at how far I've come. You could also tell yourself, I love who I'm becoming. And this is something that one of my coaches told me, and it just really spoke to me. She said that she loves herself more. She loves the version of herself more that goes all in, that goes for it, than the one that quits. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's so true. And this isn't about like, oh, I'm going to hate myself if I don't go for it. It's not that. It's just that she was saying, like, I just love that version of me. I enjoy that version of me more. And so that helped me so much, because I'm like, that is true. Like, and so you could say, I love who I'm becoming. I love this version of me that still shows up, that goes for it no matter what. I enjoy when I enjoy myself when I go for it. Yes, it doesn't mean that it's not hard, but it's like, I love that version of me that's trying no matter what. And this other one might not be an easy one to hear, but it's really important. I'm not entitled to this being easy. And this is, I mean, this has been something I've had to really, really work on. Because if somebody had told me years ago that I carry the energy of entitlement, I would have like laughed and been like, no, I don't. But the ego structure carries entitlement. So by default, we all have some version of that. And so anytime we're doing something and it's taking longer than we thought it was going to, and we get mad or resentful or we feel like a victim, that's entitlement, right? That's feeling like, oh, this should be easier now. And so, and again, this is all with so much compassion, but I'm not entitled for this to be easy isn't said in a harsh way to us. It's not like, what's wrong with you? You're not entitled for this to be easy. It's not that. It's said from love. It's said from like reminding ourselves there is a divine timing. My soul would never have led me to take these steps if I wasn't learning something from it. It like brings you back. Like when it's said from an aligned place, I know for me, it brings me back to like softness and service and connection. Right? I mean, the amount of times I have taught free classes and no one has signed up for anything, to be my client, to do a consult, to do anything else. This has happened hundreds of times. And so I've had to really work on like, I'm showing up in service because I love myself when I show up in service. I'm showing up in service because I love that people are getting value from the work I do. I'm showing up in service because every time I talk about this, it becomes clearer in my mind. Like, and noticing when entitlement comes in, like, well, I shouldn't have to do any free things anymore. Like, I've already done like thousands of things. Right? It's like, I think I've been on YouTube for like 10 years. Like, it's like, and that could be easy for me to say. But when my brain offers me that, I know like, wait, that's coming from my ego, right? It's like, I'm here to align with my soul. So you could also tell yourself, I love myself for going for this. I love myself. It's kind of similar to the other one. But like and another one that I use a lot is, I love how this is increasing my capacity. So like this month, for example, of February, I taught I've taught a lot of classes. Like it's been more than my normal load. And so I really, really tapped into desire when I decided to do that. And I've just kept feeding myself that. Like, I love how my capacity is increasing. I love how, I was able to teach 3 classes back to back to back. Not from a place of hustle, not from lack. Like, oh, I have to do this, let me push. No, from desire. And I don't mean like I'm going to keep this pace going every month, but this has been a month where I really tuned into desire and I'm using that. I'm like, okay, I love showing up for my people. I love talking about self-love. I love doing the podcast episodes. I love that every Monday I'm leading a free meditation, right? I love that it's like but this doesn't happen automatically. I have to keep bringing my mind back to that. Because what is it that happens? What you have to remember is this: desire that comes from your soul is infinite. It's an infinite resource. It never runs out. And then it makes all the steps you take flow so much more easily, have so much more impact. And so the paradox, right? Spirituality is filled with paradox. The paradox is that it does require effort to cultivate desire. Eventually it becomes easier and easier and easier. I feel like I'm in the place where willpower just like feels not an alignment, like solely relying on willpower. It's like my body, it's almost like my body's developing like an allergic reaction to it. Like, oh, and that's good because I can recognize like, oh, okay, wait a minute. I'm trying to let willpower lead me. Now I'm not fully masterful at desire. I'm still working through that. I mean, I had so much to clean up around desire because I had a lot of my life where my desires were just not met. Right? Yes, I was just in a really hard time of my life. So my desire was just to feel safe. Like the bar was low, right? It's like, and, and so this has taken years, really. And I'm not saying it's going to take you years, but it's like, I know when we're guided to teach something, we often have to go through it so deeply so that we can make it easier for those that follow us. So, what is the simple practice? The simple practice is step 1. You're going to notice. Well, actually, I'm going to add a step right here that I hadn't written in this. I talked about already. But step 1 is notice what your desires are for this year. Like that might be the biggest step for you in this moment. That you might be like, whoa, what are my desires? And again, your brain might be like, I don't know what they are. But just if you're like, no, I do know, what are they? And they could be very specific. I want to have this amount of clients or make this amount of money or do this or finish this book or whatever. Or they could be more intangible things. I want to feel more joy. I want to feel more connection. I want to feel more peace in my body. Those are desires. Okay, so that's step 1. Step 2 is notice when pushing shows up. And when you notice pushing or urgency or forcing or rushing, that is a big sign that, oh, I'm trying to do this through willpower. And just notice it. Just like, oh. And again, that might be the step you really focus on for the next few days. Just like noticing how many times you use willpower. And notice if there's a fear that if you give up using willpower, you're going to become like a slug and never do anything else. It's our egoic mind, the different parts of us can be very black and white thinking. Well, either I use willpower or I'm just going to become like a really lazy person. So notice if that happens and just really remind yourself, like, no, that's not going to happen. Like, I'm just really exploring this. And then step 3 is choose desire instead. Just be curious about that and say, like, what if I chose the frequency of desire? Right? And then ask, what aligns me with desire right now? Like, what are the sentences you can tell yourself? And you can be like, well, I really, really do desire to help people. That makes me feel so satisfied. I really, really do desire, to feel more peace in my body. I really do desire for people to read my book. just like come back to that. And come back to like, this is a choice I'm making. And again, I gave you some examples of sentences. You can use those or use your own. That's the most powerful thing, because the last step is ask your soul to expand your capacity to hold desire in your body. And for all the reasons that I shared already, right? The martyr helper identity, the feeling like desire is selfish, or desires that are immature desires, there can be so much confusion. And if we've had any trauma, which I didn't even talk about that, around desires, that could be another reason. But we're asking, you're saying, beautiful soul, increase my capacity to hold the frequency of desire, of soulful desire in my body. And you just ask it just like I did. You can bring your hands to your heart and just say, teach me. If this feels really foreign, this felt incredibly foreign to me when I first even heard of the concept. I was like, what? Like, and so, but know that it's actually the most natural thing. We are meant to be fueled by our desire. We are meant to tap into like, yes, this is what I desire, this freedom, this sovereignty, this type of service. And yes, I desire to serve these clients. That's what makes me feel really joyful. Yes, I desire to work in this way. Yes, I desire to rest in this way. Yes, like those desires, they're meant to fuel us. It's actually meant to be a really natural thing. So if this resonates and you want private help with this, I would love to connect with you in a sovereignty consult. I'll put the link in the description. And this is just a 1-hour conversation where I'll help you get clear on your desires, right? And maybe you already know what they are, but you're like, I know what they are, but I just can't seem to stay focused on them, or the obstacles feel so big, or I just keep repeating same patterns. Like this is my specialty, right? It's like helping you clear those obstacles and come into alignment with your soul. So I'll help you get clarity on that, help you get clarity on what's a simple plan for you to start to get momentum. And then if it feels like private coaching would really support you, I'll share the details of that as well. And the other thing, next week is the masterclass for this month. It is called More Self-Love Creates More Impact. And this is next Wednesday, I believe at 12:30. I'll put the link there. The replay is provided for a few days. I would love to see you if this is something that you want to go deeper into. Like, how is it that loving yourself, and I'm not talking about bubble baths and massages, although those could be expressions of your love for yourself. I'm not dissing those. Those can be great. But I'm talking about something more deep, like deeper than that, more sustainable than that. And what is the connection between that and creating more impact for the world? All right. So I'm so excited. I'm going to pull a card from this beautiful Oracle of the 7 Energies, and then we will be done. All right, let's see. What is the message? Well, we'll just take this as an additional message, insight from your soul about using desire to fuel your beautiful mission. And don't let the word mission throw you off. If you're like, mission, it's like your purpose. And ultimately, all of our purposes is to be in alignment, to feel deep joy. All right. Oh, look at this. Call of the Muse. I mean, how perfect is that? Like, to me, I've never actually pulled this card before. She embodies that energy of being fueled by desire, right? Your muse is someone who inspires you. So what if you're your own muse, right? Like giving ourselves permission for that to move through the world, to tap into, oh my gosh, I have to show you this. And then I put the deck down accidentally face up, and this is the other card that's there. How gorgeous. Call of the Muse. And then what does it say? Shining through. This is your soul desire, that frequency of desire that was placed in your heart by your soul, by the divine, by spirit. All right, Thank you so much for being here. And if you came in at the end, make sure you watch the whole episode. There were so many powerful teachings for you here. And I hope to see you in a consult if you schedule that, and next week for the masterclass. All right, bye everyone. You're welcome, Roxana, and anybody else who's watching. I can't see other names.